Peace and blessings. This is your boy Gerald. It is approximately a little bit after 9, the 11th of January 2016. How is each and every one of you doing? This is the beginning of your week, and you're going to have to sidestep some stuff that is going to be revealed to you. I put a video out this morning right before I laid down, and I said, gave myself permission because I knew that the work that I've been doing for God, for myself, for my direction, I was going to have to take a step back. And you know, just like you have your professional life as well as you have your personal life. And I like nothing more to interact with those that want the best for their lives. And I've been really trying to wait before I spoke on this topic, but it seems like every time that I say no, not now, I get validations to do so. But see, I understand that's how God does. He is a loving but jealous God. And as long as you put him first, all things are going to come to pass. But with that, all things that you do not know, all things that you're not aware of, all things that were hidden will become your challenges or your lessons. So I woke up this morning. I got my morning coffee. Cheers. And I was reading some of the uh, some of the email that I received from my channel. And as I read, I try to take in everything that the person who is conveying it to heart, but indirectly, because when you make a point to send me something, it's representing you. And so I have to look at it objectively, but not through a view of judgment. So I'm gonna speak about this now because the devil's a liar, and I understand the importance of having free will. See, your life is so precious, and how you decide to live it, display it, or honor it will fall on your shoulders. Where you begin is where you end, is what I've heard in the past. But I think a lot of us now are starting to see things come full circle, but with clarity. And it has to, because we're talking about you. So let's cut to the chase. See, now more than ever, those who have been blessed to be, you're in your 40s now, right? You're starting to see habits, and influence of days gone by. You're starting to see the evolution of things that were just once thoughts, and they are reality today. But the one thing that I've learned being on this planet is the fact that not a day goes by that there is a battle for your direction, a battle for your focus, a battle for your mortality. And we're losing. Now, I ain't got to tell you, people are dropping like flies. Some it's because they've completed the task at hand. Others it's because they did not see their worth. And some victims to, I'm not even going to say that. Now more than ever, y'all, you got to take the victim out of your walk. Because if you choose to make that your shield, you're not going to live your life. You're going to be so off the mark. And the thing is, why? Why do you think that you have to wake up on this day to another day of misery? Why do you think you got to wake up today, another day without that beautiful smile? Why do you think you got to let this day be the day that you do not have your feet grounded and clarity is just a thought? Let me tell you something, y'all. Let me make this clear. The devil is real. Demons exist. So are angels. And one thing for sure, God loves you more than you even love yourself. I ain't got to tell you that because you're going through some stuff right now. Some of y'all don't even realize this may be the year that your greatest challenge that you ever knew is going to be revealed. It's going to be dropped right on your lap, forcing you to make a decision on what direction you want to go. And the question is, all this stuff that you tell them, all this stuff you tell them, all this stuff that you tell your family, why aren't you telling yourself that? What has got you frozen? What has got you numb? You actually think that you are on this planet so that you can suffer? You're supposed to be on this planet to be the recipient of daily abuse, the scapegoat, the puppet on the string. That's your walk? It's not. It never was. But that's a choice. That's a choice that you fail to acknowledge. Because there's something going on that's there. It's right there. It's always been that way. And guess what? It's got another day till you decide to have the courage to look at it. On the side of it, it says fear. On the other side, it says disappointment. In front of it, it says shame. And on the back of it, it says embarrassment. And right now, it's got its foot square on your chest. Every time that you try to show yourself some compassion, you let that ego and pride say, you're not going to get that. You're not going to have that because you don't deserve it. Who do you think you are? Nobody wants you. You're right. Nobody wants you. There are certain people aligned to your life that need you. They need you to grow. They need you to stop lying. They need you to look inside the things that are broken and have the courage to put those words. Yeah, you know, the stuff you flapping and telling those people in the cheap seats, why don't you apply that to yourself? Well, if it was me, I would do, well, why won't you do it? Well, I would stop making excuses and do something. Or you'll end up inheriting the fate of that person that just took their last breath. Because guess what? They did the same thing. They let time from that hourglass to slip away. They keep attracting the same people. The faces changed, but the pain didn't. All it did was get more intense. Let me make this clear, y'all. We attract what we are. So if you're walking around with a bunch of hypocrites, it's because you have that in your inside you. If you're dealing with a bunch of people that will not speak their truth, well, guess what? Because that's found inside you. If you're dealing with someone that do not see your worth, and every time you turn around, there's another one, but they keep telling you the same song and dance, it's because that was in you. So you got to make a conscious decision. You going to fight for your life, or you going to give it up? Choice is yours. Now, this is what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to make this short and sweet. And I mean it. I'm trying to work on time. But you know what, y'all? I love each and every one of you. I do. And I want the best for you. But you can't have it both ways. Just like you can't go down two paths. You are on the crossroads, and you're going to have to make a decision on where you're going. Because some paths, guess what, don't give you an option to come back. It's kind of like a bear. It's kind of like a trap. You know, the door is always open. You decide to go in there, and the door closed behind you. Yeah, we know that is a spiritual block too. But what I want to put out is now more than ever, because we live in a technological world, people are dealing with the reality, excuse me, of these. Some of you already know where I'm going with this right off the bat. Those things right there are getting people hemmed up more than you ever could imagine. People are losing their jobs. People are dealing with choices that the reality of it is not worth the price paid. So you got to make a conscious choice on what you want to do. So I want to ask you right now, you ready? You ready to go ahead and jump in that coffin? Ready? You ready to give up on yourself? You ready? You ready to give up your self-worth to them? And what I mean them is the pain that you don't even know that exists, that is waiting in the wings to attack you, to break your spirit to a point where you emotionally check out, which we all know is nothing but a possession. See, you're getting to a point now, y'all, that you can't turn a blind eye to the things that are showing up in your life. Now, I spoke this beginning of the year. This is a very spiritual year. This is, some people say, hey, this is a karmatic year, Gerald. You know, what's done in the dark comes to the light. I look at it as divine intervention. I believe that God is getting tired. He's been tired. He didn't shown you. He's giving you validation. Now, these are things you've already had in your mind that you've already thought about. And guess what? God revealed it to you. Boom. You manifested that answer. Bam. But you choose not to do anything about it, but stay with the status quo. You know, Einstein said it best. If you do the same thing expecting a different result, that is nothing but insanity. So that means you have to be willing to do something different to render a new outcome. And that should be you. But see, now, more than ever, people are having to deal with their past. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And more than ever, the things that you are doing behind closed doors are being ransomed, being placed for the highest bidder, being used as a tool for false gratification. You got to understand something, y'all. Let's make this clear. Just like I'm talking to you right now, part of my spiritual essence is connected to this. And once I release it, I have no control of where it goes. Somebody in Botswana might see this when they find it. Because see, the one thing about the internet, this will live until the earth does not. So now people are afraid because now they're having to deal with the reality of, yeah, you got sex tapes out there. You've got people that are benefiting off of your intimacy, that for whatever reason, you're going to be splashed on their viewing screen for their enjoyment. And I know that for some queens, let me explain something to you. And you too, kings, listen up. For some of you that are in the midst of your 20s, right now you think life, you are very vibrant. You should see the world unlike any other. Endless potential. But more importantly, you have to take accountability of choices made. Those choices may come back to rob you of something that you are entitled to. You do understand we live in a world where it doesn't matter what your means of education is for a degree, They have people, the sole purpose is to find you. And I mentioned this before. A lot of people think, well, my stuff is password protected, Gerald. Let me explain something to you. If you hit that toggle, like right here, and say send, it's going to land on a server. And that server is going to feed to another server. And then that server is going to feed to a big old server with everything about you on it. Your conversations, your actions, and the things that you don't want the general public to know. But let me show you how the devil works. See, some of y'all are dealing with the fact of promises made not being fulfilled, not being honored. And guess what? Remember I kept saying some of y'all going to have to deal with the kitchen sink thrown in your face? That's how the devil does. Because see, the devil doesn't want you to claim your life back. So guess what? We got cyber extortion going on right now. I know I'm talking to somebody. You terrified. You say it to yourself. Well, I shouldn't have been with her. We had a good time though. It is what it is. But she said she'll keep it to herself. Yeah, long enough until you piss them off. And then guess what they do? They start your smear campaign. Yes, they do. But mind you, let me explain something to you, Kings. Because you might not know this either. Because we're living in a world that's so covert, so perverted, and you have a lot of narcissists running around, y'all, with pretty masks on. And, the days of having, see, for those in their 20s might not know this term, it's called a scrapbook. The scrapbook used to be used for pictures and mementos and memories, and you put it in that book for keepsake, right? We don't need that now. We've got digital video, so you can actually encase that memory and moment as long as you want. But see now, because you have a generation that, because I'm gonna call a spade, because daddy wasn't there. You thinking that you're gonna have to take it upon yourself to figure you out because you got mother issues. You're gonna take that same rejection and try to project that on every female you come in contact. Don't you realize you're gonna pay for that? You do understand that, right? You're gonna pay a price that you can't afford. That's why I try to convey to you, my queens, and you too, kings. You define your worth because it's your life. I know I'm talking to somebody. Stop telling everybody this. Yeah, I was in a dark place, and I did some things that I'm ashamed of. Why are you saying that? When the truth is, you intentionally did that because you wanted validation. You wanted glorification too. And now it's playing out in your life because the people you attract are all the same. And it's frustrating you because you know, you know better. You say to yourself, I'm not going to let the last one do what the new one does. But guess what? You're not allowing yourself to heal. You're not allowing yourself to hold space and reflect where you've been. How about what you said? How about what you expressed? How about what was shown? You're not taking all this into account. So the reality is, you're starting to see that all those stolen moments were exactly that, stolen. What did I tell you? The fun guy and the fun girl only stick around long enough until the entertainment fades. But the reality is, they end up alone. They won't become someone's husband, someone's wife. You know why? Because they choose not to love themselves. They choose not to take accountability for where they are now. You can't change yesterday. You can't get yesterday back. You can't, but you can learn from it. You can learn from it. I'll tell you what, because we have free will. If you choose to stay on the path that you're on, this is a choice. Don't worry about the people that are going to be in your corner because they won't be there. You're doing a good job destroying your legacy. And the thing about it is, you don't see the recourse that comes with free will. That's why truth is exactly what it is. It cuts on both sides. Why you think you have the connection that you have with your family the way it is? I'll tell you why. Because a nickel to the dime, the way your behavior is now, they see a lot of themselves in you, and rightfully so. Because guess what? You are an extension of them. So you may not understand the shame that you're bringing. You may not understand the disrespect and disgrace that you are exhibiting to your family name. But if you continue down that path, guess what? You don't have to worry about that consolation prize called denial. Because see what's going to happen, and I don't wish bad on anyone, but you always see this play out. Those that are reared from you, every lie you've told, every action you've done will come back. And you'll have to pick up that rope. You'll have to tow it. And unfortunately, that's when the wisdom always comes. Because, see, the wisdom was already there. It was already there. I had a conversation with somebody very dear to me. And I can smile about it now. The arrogance that this person exuded was phenomenal. But what amazed me more was I would see their burden and their pain through them. I could see it. And being the friend that I strive to be, I would come to them, unjudging, only with compassion, and say, hey, you okay? You need to talk about it. But they were so consumed with this. You can't convince me otherwise that it wasn't a spirit, that no matter what I was saying, it wasn't going to get through because they were going to keep doing what they wanted to do. And I told them, I said, listen, you're going to have the courage to let her go. She doesn't love you. You were just a piece in the puzzle of her life. Doesn't mean the puzzle of the picture won't have you in the future. But right now, you got to remove yourself, get you right, and let God do the rest. He didn't want to hear me. No, he didn't want to hear. He wanted, because he's, alpha male. You can't call yourself an alpha male if you don't have God in your life. Get that. Some of the most passionate, loving, as well as dangerous people you'll ever come in contact with is the ones that honor God. Don't get it twisted. And I try to be there for them, pray, continue to pray, mind you. And I would see her. Different guys. Now, mind you, Queens, let me explain something to you. You might not know this. You know how they say you are guilty till proven innocent? But in the eyes of a man, if a man sees you with another man, right off the bat, he don't have to know nothing about the situation. But in the back of his mind, you're sleeping with him. And I know you're saying, that's not right, Gerald. Why are you going to assume that? Because 9 times out of 10, that is going to be the outcome that's going to come out of it. You just won't claim it. It's true. And slowly but surely, time progressed. So one day I go over his house and we're talking and, hey, you want a drink? I was like, nah, I'm good. Not that I wouldn't take one, but, every blue moon. And we sit down and I'm catching up with him because I had to step back. I didn't like watching someone that I cared about go down this emotional, drain, so to speak. He was, I'm watching him physically age. I'm watching him, I'm seeing the effects of being in emotional distress and depression, you know. So as I'm talking to him, I see him, he's telling me, how his life has changed and everything. And he gets up and sitting in the living room, and he goes and so look, I want to show you something. Puts the tablet in front of me and goes into, it goes where he had the store, and there was 26 videos of his ex. My jaw dropped because if I could have lifted some of that burden that was on his heart, I would have. Because see, that's what friends do. That's why friendships are few and far. And I hurt, and it bothered me because to see him suffer, for him to willfully give his heart to someone to pretty much throw it on the highway, you know, and he was helpless. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat it, but you ain't heard the last of this. And he looked at me and he snapped at me. Snapped. So, Gerald, I know that you about on your spiritual path and all. And I could tell when he said that he wasn't even thinking that, I could tell he wasn't supporting what I do, but that's okay. It's my walk. But I also know that the person that I call friend was not whole. You see what I'm saying? So I was okay. But I told him, I said, listen, it was meant for you to see this. I said, I don't know how long you've been, I don't know how you got these, but it was meant, this is your validation, man. You know, you already understand what you don't need, and you already know what you need to do, but you got to forgive her. And he was mad at me when I said that. I said, no, you got to forgive her. And really, when you think about it, she did you a favor. I know somebody's saying, well, how is that, Gerald? This woman was unfaithful to him and she's got all these videos out there on the internet. How did she do him a favor? I'm going to tell you why. Well, indirectly, the best thing that could ever happen for him was for that spiritual division to occur. Because, see, what you don't realize, guys, is how they got together. It wasn't blessed. So you are really watching someone do the same thing over and over and over and over again. It was, and just so happened she was in his life. This happens with women all the time too. Let's not make it one-sided, because there are just as many uh, men out there that have videos of the women they've been with, and they hold them as trophies, conquests. You know why they do that? It's just like watching Wild Kingdom. They get them, they tag them, and let them go, because they know they don't have what it takes for them to be there the rest of time. Some of them are like, I can't believe I was with you. And all that does is fuel their ego and their pride. They make great narcissists, like I said, because that's what narcissists do. Narcissists are the ultimate opportunists. They gravitate to the things that are shiny, like status and material things. That you see a bunch of them like this. Mm-hmm. That's where there's no honor amongst thieves. But to get back to my point, now more than ever, these choices are having a social ripple effect on you economically. They've got companies out there that their whole job is to dig up anything about you. And if you think because you have a false name, a password, is password protected, you can't password protect an IP. You can't. And then somebody gonna say, no, you can't. Yeah, you can't. No, you can't. Because just ask the NSA. They can go right into your stuff, and you could have all the cyber security you want. And guess what? They'll come right up in your stuff and download everything that you got that has an icon on it. It could be your tablet, laptop, cell phone. If it has a brain in it, it can be extracted. Do not fool yourself. And I'll leave that part alone. If you don't believe me, do the research yourself. But Queens, you can't run from your life. You can't run from who you are because your your disappointments are going to be your victories. They're going to be your testimonies. Those things are going to be the foundations of the person that you're destined to be. Because there's gonna come someone behind you, and you're gonna see a lot of yourself in them, and that may be part of your purpose to get them on the correct path, to save their lives. Nothing happens by chance, y'all. Please believe it. So, but if you keep listening to society, society wants you to have that big old fake butt and that nice perky set of breasts that gonna have cancer in it because you're playing with your DNA. I told y'all that 3 years ago. Your temple is a temple that is blessed. It is aligned with your DNA is aligned with your spiritual essence. The, and when you play with it, it doesn't matter what you try to do here. Guess what? Your body says, I don't care, and tries to reset itself. And that's why you have so many people today walking around looking deformed, looking like science projects, dealing with ailments with their body, their immune system. It doesn't surprise you that you have the two biggest commercials you see on TV have to do with mental illness and blood disease. Let's mind you, now let's mind you, you also got the male enhancement one out there too, because they want you to produce. They want you to burn through your life. They don't want you to honor it. But I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to say this. Queen, you know Joe loves you. You got to get out of that trick bag of feeling sorry for yourself. Now's the time you need to start owning your life. Deep down inside, nobody cares who you slept with. I know I'm talking to somebody, but you need to stop lying. Stop telling people, I've only been with 5. Why y'all do that? Don't you realize the mature man and woman can look at you and tell exactly not only what you've done, how you do it, and how frequently, because those signatures are found on your body and your structure. You didn't get them crow's feet for smiling. You didn't get that wiggle from just standing up straight. And you didn't get that weariness found on your eyes for nothing. So you're going to continue to blame your parents for your shortcoming? You're going to continue to blame that abusive mate for your rebellion? Nobody's putting a gun to your head to tell you to act a certain way. Nobody's making you do anything you won't do. So if you can't find honor in what you're doing, why are you doing it? But you know who's smiling? That devil. You know who's banking that you won't see your worth? That Jezebel spirit. That Jezebel spirit wants you to sleep with everybody because her whole position is to disrespect you from the inside out. Why do you think you have those spots and dots on your backside? And you try to put medication on it thinking it won't go away. There's a spiritual connection to that. But then again, I know this too. I think someone, who was it, said that? I saw some movie that said, some crime movie, I think. And the guy was like, well, the problem is going to always exist. You could have a person with an addiction, but if you don't take them out of the crack house, the probability of them relapsing is great. It's the same. Until you decide to take ownership for your actions, you're going to constantly have the same occur time and time again. So you're going to blame him for sleeping with those 6 guys that you don't know that don't give a damn about you? You think where are they now? I guarantee you when they pulled the condom off, or the ones that you didn't even allow to put the condom on, you can't find them. The price for admittance was lies, false titillation. But in the back of your mind, you said, well, yeah, I know, but he makes me feel so good, Gerald. I'm addicted. You admit it. You admit that, but you want to admit you have a sexual addiction. You know why people have sexual addictions? Because they refuse to look at what's broken, and they use their sexuality as a means to escape their problems. Because that orgasmic release is a high. It's the same difference from a runner. A runner or a person that works out in the gym. They call it runner's high, or a lift or workout high. It's messing with your brain because it releases a certain level of serotonin that is euphoric. So guess what? The thrill seeking is there. But why is it now? Your thrill seeking is going up 5, 6 levels compared to who you once were. They got you swinging from the chandeliers and disrespecting everything you stand by, only to laugh behind your back, to spit in your face. I was reading a story yesterday for those that are on social media. I don't know if it was Media Takeout or Bossip. And so from time to time, I'll look on there when I'm bored. And there was a story about a couple out of Texas that the girlfriend, while they were being sexual, allowed her ex-husband's name come out in the midst of it. Things happen. And in return, the boyfriend ripped her uterus out. Ripped it out. And when the police came, they found him. He called 911 sitting by her. And he said, well, first thing came out of his mouth, He said, well, she's into rough sex. She likes anal play. So we got our toys. And everything was fine until she let his name fall from her mouth. So that tell me right then and there, she wasn't over her ex. She was rebelling. She was with Mr. Wrong, knowing her heart was still with him. Now she ain't here no more. And you know what was sad, y'all? He was only remorseful because of the reality that he's looking at murder. He wasn't remorseful for what he did physically. So I look at it like this. There was obviously a chemistry there or a like-mindedness between the two. Ain't nobody gonna turn around and say, hey, you know what, let's do this, if the person's not exposed to that already. So guess what? There was some seeking done. And the reality of that seeking cost her life, cost him his life. For what? Your life is priceless, y'all. And it's sad because a lot of people are laughing now because they said, well, oh well. Yeah, I don't care about all that. But deep down inside, you know you do. You care about those tears that fall. You got the energy to get it in somewhere else, anywhere. How? Because it's fun. It's the thrill of not getting caught. What about those precious tears that fall when no one's looking? Surely they have value. How about that loneliness? Surely they have merit. If you think that you are on this planet to play the role of the kept woman, the side chick, I hate that word, the fun girl, the side dude, Mr. Fix It. He can fix it, but he can't fix his life. Come on, man. You deserve better. But you cannot fix something you will not acknowledge that it exists. Doesn't matter where you lay your head and who happens to occupy the space if there's no love in it. And if you don't love yourself, who's really losing? Is it you? God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, for that, for that, it helps me discern mine. I woke up out of my sleep just to put this out for somebody. There's no winners when you choose to run away from you. I'm going to say this once and for all. Stop listening to those people in the cheap seats. If you got some emotional hangups, go talk to a therapist. Go talk to a counselor. The worst thing that can come out of that is they validate you got it together. Or they can give you advice to try something new. Don't you think you're worth it? You realize now more than ever that AIDS, first of all, AIDS has always been here. Just they didn't have a social name for it. It's always been here. And it's always going to be here because you have some people that look at that as another means of population control. It's called a spade a spade. Come on now. There's no money in cures. There's money in sustainment. That's why there's no cure for it. But there is a cure for it. Don't get that twisted either. But just think about all those people that are doing this. See, I told you, every time that you choose not to claim your life, you've given them more leverage to stay with the same mindset they have. You don't like the fact that he calls you a prostitute? Change your behavior. But if you're going to change your behavior, you got to acknowledge why you were behaving that way to begin with. Maybe now this is the time that you can finally say, you know what? Because of that pain, I decided not to love myself, and I've been running from myself since day one. And in turn, I own the fact that I've hurt a lot of people that genuinely I should have never heard breathe, but God put them in my life to show me what love really looks like, not what love feels like. See, the devil don't care about your heart. He don't. All he wants to do is wreck your mind, tear your body up from the inside out. I ain't gotta tell you that. Some of y'all have unfortunately have to deal with the fact that you can't have kids. You're barren now because you've allowed people to convince you not to take care of your health. But guess what? I feel this in my spirit and I'm gonna shut up. You will be a parent. That's coming. And it's gonna come by way either of adoption or maybe surrogacy. So don't rule out that you missed your window because you haven't. It's time for you to claim you, y'all. And love yourself more. Be blessed.